Okay, 2005 Mercedes E320. We have a misfire, and I worked on this car a week ago or so, and I cleaned up the EGR valve, and it was working fine for a while. Now, what happens, I got the EGR valve, the control, the vacuum line unplugged. When I now pay attention to this shaft here at the valve itself. When I put the vacuum back on, it moves. You see how the engine actually misfires right now. Now we have unwanted vacuum coming to the EGR valve itself. So let's go ahead and look at the this shaft again. Here's the diaphragm. Diaphragm right there. Now when I unplug the vacuum, this shaft's going to go back down, it's going to close the valve. See that? And the engine moves down. Now we have to make sure, let's see, let's do this again. See how it moves? Shouldn't do that. There you go. So I'm having a vacuum right here on this vacuum line that I shouldn't have at the idle, so it is controlled by this actuator here, this guy here. Now we have to make sure that we don't have a control wire shorted to ground and it's energized. Now we can actually simply unplug the valve, unplug this electrical connector. If I still have a vacuum on this actuator here, then mechanically it's stuck open. This guy here. So let's go ahead. This is the electrical connector. I'm going to unplug it and roll out the computer issue or unwanted current. Okay, I got the actuator unplugged. So this guy here. I'm going to connect the hose again, and the same thing happens again. That the actuator is mechanically stuck open and activates the EGR valve. Now we can see that? Okay, so the car is still misfires. I got the connector unplugged, and something else also we can do. We can actually measure a temperature between the exhaust manifold and this hose here. But now it's not that important. We know that the EGR valve is stuck in the open position, but it's not the valve itself, it's the actuator that controls the valve to the EGR. Now, unplugging the connector, we know it's not electrically shorted. We don't have issues with the control side. Now let's take a screwdriver and tap on this valve itself and see if it's going to unstuck itself. I think yeah. You see right now that it's working. So this is kind of an intermittent problem, and you can see now when I move my hose, this shaft here, it's not going to move anymore. There you go. So now it's going to work for a while, it's going to get stuck open, so I will need to get another actuator, and it'll be fine. I got the replacement part on this car. Actually, actuator comes with a EGR valve itself, but on many make and models you're gonna have actuator actually somewhere else. So you need to know what is the problem. Is the EGR valve that's stuck open, or is it the actuator that's intermittently gets stuck open? Now, of course, and you have to make sure that electrically it's not shorted, that it will actually, as soon as you turn it, maybe if it's a ground side switched, you got a constant power, and the ground side, the control wire is shorted to ground, and electrically will energize the actuator. The easiest way to do is actually just get an M clamp on this circuit, and if you got no current, you're done. You're again, you can unplug it and do the tap test and see if it does make a difference or not. So. Anyhow, on this car we're just gonna replace the whole unit, and they should take care of it. Now to replace it, you're gonna have a you gotta take this nut off the pipe, and then there's gonna be 2 bolts on the side. Actually, the top. There's one here. I'm sorry. There's one here and then one here, and it's not too bad. Just gotta get this moved, and now I think what you gotta do actually also to unplug this injector here. That's gonna be so much. You're gonna be able to get to this bolt here, and all right, shouldn't be too bad. All right. Now to get this connected, you just have to kind of squeeze these 2 tabs pretty hard actually. I couldn't do it with one hand. You have to get 2 hands on it. Okay, the first step I did, I loosened up this knot here. I'm sorry. And I just used this wrench, which I actually got on eBay just the other day. This kind of self-locking pipe wrench. It actually worked pretty well. Got it for like $2. And so the next step will be you got to take this bolt off, and of course this one here. Now I got my injector unplugged and actuator unplugged, and so you're going to use a E12, okay, and what it would be good to have a extension of the wobble tip, and it just needs just a little bit of a clearance to get to the because it's not a straight shot down because of the fuel rail. So you got a fuel rail here, and if you have this type of extension, you're going to have a little bit of an angle, and you should be able to. It's still a little kind of in a way, but I think you can get your socket on your bolt now. See if I get it loose. I need 2 hands. You have to use both hands to get. Now something else, you got to take this hose off. Okay, just move it to the side, and I've got this bolt loose. There you go. Yeah, and you got to have some type of tool that will give you a little bit of an angle to get to that bolt underneath the fuel rail, because it's not a straight shot there. So I'm hoping that I can just pull the EGR valve off. I don't have to loosen up. Yeah, nice. Okay. I was concerned that I might have to get to these 2 bolts here, which I actually did the last time because I had to clean up this pipe as well. But there's you can actually move it up just a little bit, enough to move the EGR valve out. Now I lost my gasket, but I got a new one. You're gonna have a gasket right there, so make sure. And so this is your supply line, your vacuum supply line here. So let's just for you guys who don't understand how this works, so this is basically a vacuum control EGR valve, and computer controls the vacuum to a. So the vacuum is basically the energy that's needed to open a valve itself. So this is the EGR valve down here. It's the diaphragm, and we could see the diaphragm was moving because we had a vacuum applied to valve itself. Now the EGR system on the gasoline cars, the EGR valve is never open at the idle, and it's never open at the wide open throttle. Now, in order for the computer to control the vacuum to a EGR valve, there has to be some type of valve in between. Now, the computer can only open and close the electrical circuits, and in order to control the vacuum, there has to be a valve. So this is a actuator here. It's basically everything works off the magnetic field, spring, and the pintle basically. And so here is that part that actually computer controls. You can see you got 2 wires here, the power and ground. It can be a power side or ground side switched, and the computer is going to energize the control side of the circuit. Now, once the current start going through this actuator, that's going to be a magnetic field created, and the magnetic field is going to overcome a spring tension on this valve, and it's going to pull the valve open, and then the vacuum is going to start flowing through this valve, and it will be applied to a EGR valve itself. Now what we don't want to do, what we don't want to have is actually vacuum at the idle, is actually vacuum be applied to the valve all the time. So this valve was mechanically stuck open, but also we could have a, as I said before, we can actually problem with a control side of the circuit where it is energized all the time. Now something else we have to make sure that, so every time you have this type of a circuit, this type of the EGR valve, vacuum EGR valve, we have to make sure that we have a sufficient vacuum supply, and the vacuum supply always come from the intake manifold itself. And we can see this hose here is the hose that actually goes to a so this kind of wraps around to the right, and that goes right there. So that's the supply, vacuum supply to a actuator itself. So we have vacuum on this side of the actuator all the time, but once the actuator so it goes all the way through here, and then wraps around, and then so vacuum comes this way and then goes out into the valve. So right inside of it, this vacuum has to be stopped and at the idle. And so, okay, I mean, you guys have an idea what I'm talking about. So what I need to do now is unplug this hose, and so you also have to make sure that we don't have any cracks in the hose, and sometimes the hose itself would deteriorate and they would kind of get pinched. So okay, so I'm gonna get this off and install the new valve, and we should be good. So what you're gonna do is just you know, get some kind of a tool, plier, whatever, and pull this off. Well, I'm going to do a quick review of the tool, might as well. Got the couple of these pliers, they are from Kentmore, and they are designed for a valve stem removal, and they're kind of different sizes, you can see. But these, I don't do any kind of rebuilding of the engines, but these pliers are perfect for clamps, the hose clamps, and for a removal of the hoses as well. So you can see it has a little serration inside of it, and you just grab the hose and you pull it right off. It's a really nice tool for a works great. There you go. I wish they had it one size smaller, but it works fine for this size of hoses as well. So but anyhow, this is a see, Kentmore EN-46116-1. I got all this off of eBay, and this one is J-38820. Alright, let's get the EGR valve replaced and test it again. For installation, you got to make sure you got your gasket. If you don't have one, that it would be always good to get a new one, but you just position a gasket right there, and if you don't have a new one, you have to find the old one, because it's gonna cause problems if you don't have this gasket on. Now the first step you're gonna take the EGR valve assembly, and this pintle at the bottom here will be hooked up to this vacuum hose here. Okay, just like that. So these two will go together. I had to have two hands to do it. So once you do that, you're just going to put your gasket on, turn the valve this way, put it in here, and put the bolts on. Okay. Okay, I got my gasket there. I got this the hose hooked up to my EGR valve. Now when you do this, it's always good to actually replace this part of the hose. It goes right into the intake manifold right there, and you just slowly get your pump in place. And I think you need to flip this over like that. There you go. And it's really easy. I mean, it's nothing to it. Right there, and you're pretty much good. You gotta make sure nothing is pinched. And let's see. I think actually it's better if this goes this way. There we go. There you go, it's better. Alright, so this is how it's gonna look like on that side. Alright, and now you just take your bolts. You have to line up your gasket. That's a little bit of a hassle. It's not too bad when you have two hands. The one, actually this side is actually lined up already, I think. Alright, so I got this end. So now my gasket is secured. I just need to move it. See that? You can see the gasket underneath. Now I have to see there. See this hole here. Let's see, where is that? Right there. So you can, the gasket is not lined up 100%, so I have to take something and put a pick, put in this hole, wiggle a little bit, and it should be lined up now. It's close enough. Alright, and now take your bolt, slide it in. Alright, that works. This one's good. I'll tighten it down. But you gotta have this type of socket, extension too. And then get this guy back into place. There you go. Okay, now it's engaging. Okay, and now at this point I just have to tighten everything down, and your connector, you just go straight in and just snaps into place. The same thing on the injector. Now on the injector, use the pliers on this end to squeeze these tabs, because you got to unplug this injector because you cannot get to this bolt. Alright, so got the bolts tightened down, got the connector back in. Again, you just have to push it in. It's it's easy. And the connector on my injector is back in. Now this hose, make sure there's a little bracket here. Make sure this hose goes on top of it. And this is pretty easy, and everything's good. That should work now. Alright, it's running good, and you can see the pintle itself. I'm gonna try that 1 second. It's a new hose. It's a new pliers. Okay, so we can see there's no difference, of course. Now this actuator should work as well. I don't have a bi-directional control to energize the actuator. I could go here, figure out what's the control wire, but I don't want to do it because this was mechanically stuck, so I'm happy with it, so this will be fine. And so anyhow, this is what you can do. Get to this hose here, pull it out. If the engine starts working fine, you can actually look at this pintle here. If the pintle goes back down, then your problem is actuator, and the best would be to unplug the connector, do the same thing, and if you still have an issue, then your actuator is stuck open. Tap it with a screwdriver. If it goes back to normal, you need a new EGR assembly. Alright guys, thank you so much, and see you next time. Bye bye.